Hello, students. We are back with the unit 2, and I'll be starting the second lecture today. So, in the last lecture, we had looked at the as some aspects of the advertising message, which were uh, the definition, the structure, the how to make an effective advertising message, the factors which are involved in creation of advertising message, the message testing, the various steps involved in message testing, various kinds of uh, uh, steps. Then what are the factors in message development, the three C's of message development. Uh, now we will look into the stages of preparing a advertising message. What all stages are involved in preparing a advertising messages? So basically there are four stages. First one is the message generation. Then second is message evaluation and selection. Third is message reading, and finally message execution. Now, if we look at the first one, which is message generation, so the advertising message can be of two types: informative, and the second one is persuasive. Informative is nothing but where information is being provided in the advertisement. And the second one, the purpose of the second one is to influence the behavior or attitude of the consumer. So, these are the two types of messages. While when we generate a messages, it can be either informative or persuasive. Now, there are some basic guidelines for an informative message. The first one, that the message should be simple and clear, and it should state the purpose. Then the second is that the language used should be of the receiver, which is the prospective customers or the audience. Third is provide illustrations. So wherever you can, you should in an informative message, because there is information, and information is best presented towards by graphs or charts or maybe pictures. So these are basically helpful, and it basically uh, uh, the visibly it is much better, and it uh, it it sends through the information quicker than if you put it in words. Then the fourth one is that you should repeat the important points. So or you should lay stress on the important points. So for example, if you want to lay for a print ad, for example, if you want to lay stress on something, you can put it on bold, or you can highlight it, or you can put it in italics. So these kind of things. Or if there is a space, enough space, then you can repeat the important points as well. You can underline the important points. Then you can also use introductions and summaries for each major point. So there would be, say, for example, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever your major points. So you can summarize it at the end, or maybe you can, before starting the point, you can give a introduction. Sorry. Then the second step, message evaluation, selection, and rating. So basically, there are three factors which needs to be considered uh, in testing the copy, the copy of the advertisement, that is. So first is whether or not it should be tested. Second is what and when to test, and what criteria or what test to use. First one, whether or not to test. So basically, the ad agencies or the advertiser had to decide whether they need to test the ad before launching it or running it. Then when and what and when to test. So basically, it can be at the beginning of the creative process, it can be at the end of the production stage, or it can be after the campaign has been launched. And the third question is what criteria or what test to use. So it can be advertisement recognition, persuasion, or change in attitude, criteria of purchase behavior, or testing an effective brand on loyalty. Now, so before going to message execution, um I would like to go through to go through the testing procedure. So how you test the effectiveness of the ad. So there are three kind of testing involved. One is pre-testing, one is post-testing, and one is the concurrent testing. Pre-testing, as you know, is something where the testing is done before the launch of the advertisement. So before you are premiering or it or before you are launching it, so you are doing the testing beforehand. So there are various methods involved for pre-testing. One is the checklist method. Uh, so here, we take some dummy customers or a focus group, and we provide a checklist to them, and we ask them to rate the advertisement on various factors like attention, readability, convincing ability, selling ability, and all these things. Second, in the pre-test is opinion test. Here, what we do is that we ask for the opinion of the consumer. Here, a jury sits and or even a focus group sits, and we ask them to rate the advertisement on the parameters like headlines, slogans, illustrations, and all these things. Then the third one in the pre-testing line is the dummy magazine or portfolio test. Here, what we do, as I had mentioned in the previous lecture, that a magazine is given, a dummy magazine is given, and the ad is placed the ad is placed in the magazine. And here what we do, we see that how much attention is the dummy customer giving on that particular ad, and we gauge the eyeballs that whether he was looking at that particular advertisement, and if he looked, did he look with interest, and how long did he look at the ad. So this one. Then then we have the concurrent testing. So so one was pre-testing, the other one is concurrent testing. Concurrent testing is something which happens when the advertisement campaign is going on. So basically, when the advertisement is already launched and it is there in the newspaper, it is there, or maybe if it is a audio visual, then if it is there or launched on the television, and it is beaming live on whichever channel we are using for the advertisement. So here also we have various methods. First one is the telephonic survey. Here what happens is that we randomly call various audiences, and we check that whether that particular person has watched that advertisement and what are his views. We ask him to rate it on different parameters. Then the second one is the interview test. In an interview test, we again call the prospective audience, customers or client or audience, and we this is done face to face, and again we ask them their views on the advertisement in a face to face interview on different parameters. Then for concurrent, there is another one, the passerby test. Here what we do is that we look we so for this is mainly for the outdoor media. So what happens is that the hoarding is placed on the road, and we see that how many vehicles are passing by through that like via passing that billboard or hoarding, and whether they are able to see that advertisement, or what is the attention span, or whether there is attention at all or not. So this is known as passerby count test. Then there is post testing. Post testing is basically done when the campaign is already over. We are no more showing the advertisement, and the advertisement has stopped coming. So in this we have, first one is the major one is recall test. We ask a group of people, the audience, whether they have seen this ad, and if they recall that okay they have seen this ad, then we check with them whether then on various parameters, for example, what was the slogan, or what do you remember about that ad, and all these things, so that we can know that okay our ad. So more the more the positive reply, more the effective advertisement was. Then second one is aided recall. Aided recall is something very similar to recall test, but here we give them some clues, and we give them some kind of hint or idea, so that basically we are providing an aid and helping them to recall the advertisement. Then there is unaided recall. So unaided recall is just the opposite of aided recall, wherein uh, the there is no aid provided, and the audience, or the group of customers, the focus group audience we have selected, they have to uh, recall the advertisement without any aid. So this was about the testing the effectiveness of the advertisement. Now coming back to the point. So next, so we had looked at uh, message generation, message evaluation, and selection, and now we are at message execution. Message execution is basically considered to be fit to be released when the decision of executing message has to be taken. So basically, when the message has to be released, obviously because the timing of the advertisement is very important to make an impact on the audience. So basically, there are two parameters for message execution. One is rational positioning, which is what is said, and the other one is emotional positioning, which is how it is said. Now, there are various execution styles: musical, demonstrative, problem solving, comparison, straightforward, teaser, lifestyle, and scientific. Now, in this, there is something called advertisement appeals. Appeals, as again I had mentioned in my previous lecture, appeal can be emotional, appeal can be sexual, appeal can be humorous. So the basically these are cues that provide a stimuli to the advertisement. So basically, these are developed on the basis of the buying motives, and the advertising message basically should appeal directly or indirectly to those key needs which influence behavior. Okay, so appeals are nothing but cues that provide a stimuli. Now, uh, the major appeals are rational, emotional. Emotional can be positive or negative, moral, direct, and indirect. So now, if we look at rational appeal is nothing but where you are making an appeal on basic basis of some logic. So it can be the logic can be the rationale can be the quality is very high. It can be for low price. It can be for long life. It can be easy to use. It can be economical. So these are the few rationales. So generally, when we go to a market to buy anything, so for example, if we are looking at a Colgate and maybe a close up, so if we find that Colgate is giving 20% more in a 100-gram tube, so we will go for Colgate because we are in relatively same price, we are getting 20% more. Likewise, if uh, if we are buying a detergent soap and surf, say for example, is priced at 100, but a Tide is priced at 80, so we will go for Tide. We'll think that okay, I'm saving 20 rupees on this, so that will be a low price appeal. So these are the basically the rational appeals which are definitely shown in the advertisement. We see it day in and day out how rational appeals are made. We normally see a lot of times durability about tires, about other stuff which show maybe in advertisement we see daily we see these kind of rational appeals. So it can be about long life, it can be about durability, it can be about price, it can be about high quality, it can be about high productivity, or in cases of cars and bikes, it can be about high mileage. So all these kind of rational appeals. Then there is emotional appeals. Emotional appeals, as we see that they don't have any rational, they don't have any logic, but they they basically hit our heart. So basically, it hits our emotion mentally, and that's how we started using the services, or we start buying the product and things like. So for example, if you look at the advertisement of LIC ads are normally with emotional appeal, where they try to show that okay, the the bread earner of the house had died, and how even after his death his wife was able to educate the kids and marry the daughter and all these kind of things. So ads are generally LIC, as in Life Insurance Corporation. These ads are normally with emotional appeal. So the emotional appeals can be so for example, as the pic here in the slide shows, Johnson and Johnson. So as mothers are very attached to their babies, so Johnson and Johnson use that mother's love and caring nature for their advertisements, and they that's where the motherly love is shown in the Johnson, and so that is also emotional appeal. Then there is also something called negative. So Johnson and Johnson and LIC was positive emotion. Similarly, there is negative emotion appeals also. So what are negative emotion appeals? So that is somehow these days, especially, these things are not. People are standing against standing up against them. So Fair and Lovely, I have shown it here, is a very prime example where they show that how a dark complexion girl is not uh, being able to get a job or things like that. So that is negative emotion. So that a girl with we Indians especially are very uh, uh, we think highly of fair skin, and we don't think very nicely about dark skinned people, which is actually wrong, but that is how the society is. And that's how the fairness team, they try to catch in on that emotion, and they make a negative, so that is called as negative emotion appeal. So basically, they say that okay, if you're not fair, you use our fairness scheme and you will be fair and you will be successful in life, which is actually not true, but that's how it is. Then there is the fear appeal. Fear appeal I had already discussed in the last lecture, wherein I had given an example of how government of India uses the fear appeal in the helmet ad, or you have these days you would see lot of advertisements in print media, on television, of how why not to use mobile phone while driving. So all these companies use fear appeal also. Now, next is positive emotional appeal. So, positive emotional appeal is nothing but you show love, you show humor, you show pride, you show prestige, joy. So these are positive emotional appeal. So something like, for example, there was a bike of Bajaj wherein Vikrant, yes. So wherein they used the positive emotional appeal of patriotism, and they said that the ship Vikrant, which was a naval vessel, and how that bike was made from the iron or steel of Vikrant, and so that there they were using a positive emotional appeal, which was of patriotism. Moral appeals are nothing but wherein our moral values or ethical values are used. So as you can see here uh, in the slide, that moral appeals are generally used. You would remember the ad of Amir Khan uh, by the tourism department of India, wherein it says Atithi Devo Bhava. So like the tourists are God for us. Then Jago Grahak Jago is similarly a moral appeal wherein consumer awareness is spread, and then the Incredible India, wherein if you can see like Amitabh Bachchan is endorsing the state of Gujarat and how popularizing the tourism in Gujarat state, and likewise many other actors are doing it for different states. Like one more example is very popular ad is Hindustan Ka Dil Dekho, which is for Madhya Pradesh tourism. Then uh, then there is direct advertising appeal. Direct advertising appeal is basically they will give you the message very directly and clearly. So, for example, Dettol, it straight away tells that it kills 99.9% of germs. So, whenever you get hurt or thing like that, so it shows in the ad, and it says that it's an antiseptic liquid and it kills almost all the germs. So, this is direct advertising appeal. Indirect advertise appeal are basically used which are not part of the basic human needs. So what they do is that then they have to use it indirectly. So for example, the for example engine oils. So they are not part of the basic human needs. So then you have to sell it through some using some or the other prop or some or the other mechanism to sell your product. Then there is social appeal. Social appeal is nothing but wherein you are doing something for the upliftment of the society. So, as you can see here, the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, which promotes literacy India program. Then, if you would have seen the Tata team had done a very long campaign of different ads. So for example, they had done for the election process wherein they asked they ask people to go out and vote in the election and exercise their rights. Then comes the humor appeals. Humor appeals is basically one of the most popular appeals or themes being used these days. So if you look at across all the advertisement, humor is the most common one which is being used. So like Mentos and which says Dimag ki batti chala de, Happy Dent is there, and like most of the chewing gums are doing this. Plus the ads for cold drinks and like Miranda ad or the Fanta ad. So these kind of advertisements, you will see the humor appeal because over time through research and we have seen that humor basically appeals to all the audience alike. Then there are some other appeals like adventure appeal. Adventure appeal, you can see like something like a woodland that shows adventure. Then there is youth appeal. Youth appeal you can see in Pepsi ads. So there are lot of other appeals which are there. So so these are few examples given over here of different appeals. So I would close the session here only, and in the next session we will continue with the advertising message. Thank you, class.